Just as I sat down to film, it actually began raining, and that just kind of sums up the entire mood for this video. I don't know why, but I absolutely love a sad summer read. Give me a book that I'll end up crying to whilst on the beach or sunbathing in the park, where strangers will look over at me and be like, what on earth is wrong with her? Yes, please. Another one, thank you.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
Lana Del Rey was ahead of her time when she sang Summertime Sadness for real. That being said, I have compiled a list of 10 books that I think encapsulate this whole feeling, the melancholy and sorrow that comes with this time of year. So join me as I tell you about each of these books and why you should read them this season. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Katerina, welcome to the channel. And alrighty, let's get into it. So starting off with one of my favourite books of all time, the very first book on my list is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is actually the first book of 4 in her Neapolitan series, and to be honest, I've actually only read the first book. Don't ask me why I haven't read the others yet, I'm broke, okay? I need to save money to buy the rest of the books. Although I am currently reading one of her other new books, which I am very much enjoying, so yeah, I am a fan. That being said, this is a very emotionally charged story that unfolds in a impoverished yet vibrant neighbourhood in Naples, Italy, post the Second World War. And we follow the lives and friendship of 2 girls, Elena and Lena, from their childhood to their adolescence. Their bond is a central pillar in a world marred by economic disparity and social upheaval. And as they grow, their friendship evolves in a form of love and also competition, with each girl pushing the other to excel in different ways amidst the backdrop of a very rapidly changing Italy, which influences their experiences and choices. A wide array of themes are delved into, including education, class struggle, and feminine identity. This is on my list because it's just such an incredible story that explores the complexities of female friendship, more specifically the pain and loss that comes in a friendship in a very patriarchal society that's almost designed to stifle women's potential. The story is just tinged by sadness, as throughout the novel you see the limitations and struggles that these women face. And the novel not only explores the beauty and strength found in female bonds, but also the sorrow from watching a best friend suffer a life that they could have transcended if they had the resources. The narrative is just filled with melancholy, as it reflects the dreams that remain unfulfilled, and the harsh realities that life imposes. It really holds a mirror up to the reality of lost potential, and the unyielding grip of circumstance. Honestly, if you're drawn to stories about the depth of friendship and the aching sorrow that what might have been, then I can 100% guarantee that this book will captivate you. And speaking of books set in Italy with a what could have been narrative, the next book I recommend to you is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. So this is set in the 1980s in a picturesque coastal Italian town, and the novel immerses into a life-altering romance between a 17-year-old boy called Elio and a visiting older graduate student named Oliver. Their connection is immediate and profound, and the book recounts this romance that they had over one fleeting summer. What started as a secretive crush blossoms into an intense romance, filled with ache, yearning, longing of having a first love. However, the beauty of their romance is shadowed by a cloud of knowledge that they know that their time is limited, which therefore creates this undercurrent of sadness that permeates the story. And as the summer wanes, so does the inevitability of their separation, leaving both characters forever changed. Not to be dramatic, but I was honestly not the same person I was after I finished reading this. I have still yet to recover, to be honest. I am still mourning this relationship. This story is truly a melancholic ode to the sorrows and joys that come with a first love. It's a sort of young love that leaves a permanent mark on your soul, the same way this book did to me. It explores the bittersweet reality of intense emotional connections that are limited by circumstance and time. And because you're constantly reading the main character's intricate thoughts on this inner turmoil, it makes the story so much more heartbreaking and moving. Because it feels like you yourself are so obsessed with this person and you're mourning their loss before they even go. And what makes it even more painful is that it showcases how rare and precious that these immediate and gorgeous connections are. It's really a trope of this right person, wrong time scenario. And if you love the film, then you'd absolutely love the book of this, because I actually watched the film first and then picked up the book and then ended up loving the book even more, so I would 100% recommend this for you. The next book on my list is equally as heartbreaking, and that's The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. So this story is set against the tumultuous backdrop of Afghanistan's history, from the fall of the monarchy through the Soviets' invasion to the rise of the Taliban regime. And the story follows a young boy from Kabul and his complex relationship with his father, as well as the son of the father's servant who is the boy's best friend. But this platonic bond was marred by an incident of betrayal during their childhood, and as the main character grows up, the shadows of his past decisions and choices begin to haunt around him, where he is ultimately compelled to right his wrongs, and to ultimately confront his old best friend's legacy and seek forgiveness, to atone for his personal failures. This novel is steeped in themes of guilt, redemption, and the painful cost of innocence. This novel really is a sorrowful tale in many aspects. Firstly, it explores the personal agony of the characters, and how just a few bad choices can really turn all of the characters' lives upside down. And as a reader, I found myself literally screaming at some of the characters' decisions. Like, at some points I was literally like, oh my god, how can you do this?
Oh, I can't believe you've done this.
But in a weird way, it kind of made it even more heartbreaking because it felt like very true to life, because real people make bad decisions and choices all the time. And also just the characters in general were very well written, as all their sorrows and joys were just laid bare. And it really felt like it was mirroring my own vulnerabilities as well, which I'm sure a lot of other readers would relate to. The novel is also equally harrowing because it reflects the scars left on the country from decades of conflict. The novel mourns the loss of a once peaceful Afghanistan, lamenting the beauty that was shattered by political and social upheaval, and how such consequences can therefore corrupt the innocence of children by the harsh realities of the world. And it's a reminder of the harsh truth that some wounds are too deep to heal, and the cost of human cruelty can span through generations. If you're moved by stories that explore the human condition and the complexity of moral choices, then this book is definitely for you. Speaking of problematic governments, the next book on my list is Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski. This story is set in 1980s Poland when the country was still under communist rule, and we follow two men who meet at a summer work camp and they form an immediate and intense connection. Their relationship blossoms in a society where their love is not only taboo but dangerous for them, forcing them to contend with the oppressive political regime and societal expectations. And as political tension in Poland escalates, so does the tension between the two lovers. And it creates a narrative that's not only raw and intimate but historically resonant. It explores themes of censorship, forbidden love, and the struggle for identity. I really adored this novel as it explored the complications of love in a time of political turmoil, exhibiting how personal narratives can really affect our personal lives. And it showcases this depressing yet profound exploration between political ideology and personal freedom. The characters are richly developed, their inner conflicts and desires are rendered with such nuance and empathy, and it makes the story so much more moving because you know the characters so well by the end of the book. You feel their yearning and struggles so deeply that your heart just honestly breaks for them too. This is again definitely one of those right person at the wrong time sort of books, which I personally seem to go feral for. And if that's something you also love, then you'll definitely love this book. Okay, moving on from corrupt governments, we're going to be taking a delve into some Greek mythology. So the next book on my list is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a reimagining of the life of Circe, who is a lesser goddess known for her role in Homer's Odyssey. And in this story, we follow her journey from her birth in the halls of the gods all the way to her exile on a remote island, where she masters the art of witchcraft whilst also coming across some very famous male figures. However, her immortal existence is laced with sorrow and eternal solitude. There's a constant pain of being misunderstood and the heartache of unrequited love. Circe's story is one of transformation, as she navigates a life oscillating between the divine and the mortal, to ultimately find her own voice and power. This novel explores themes of transformation, power, and defiance. For any girl that feels like they're in a place where they don't belong, congrats, you'll definitely resonate with its protagonist, as it essentially portrays Circe's journey in finding a place where she belongs in a world where she is considered lesser. This novel does such a good job at exploring the loneliness that comes with being different and also trying to be independent, which I'm sure a lot of girls can relate to nowadays, especially with the dating market just being so dire, which makes the book so much more sad because the themes of isolation and loneliness whilst also trying to search for your identity just felt really relatable, at least for me anyway. Plus there's some really moving plot points in the story, including the realities of love, loss, and the sacrifices that come with motherhood. And probably the most harrowing plot point of this was when Circe was in a situationship at one point. I feel for my sister, honestly. It's just a gorgeous book that showcases the bittersweet journey towards self-acceptance. And if you're captivated by tales of mythological beings with all too human feelings, then this book is definitely for you. I think Madeline Miller is definitely the queen of sad summer reads because the next book on my list is also written by her, and that's The Song of Achilles. This is is also set in ancient Greece, and it's a reimagining of Achilles, one of the greatest Greek warriors of all time. And the story is told through the eyes of Patroclus, an exiled young prince who becomes Achilles' beloved companion. But their bond deepens into something more tender, and defies the expectations of reality as well as the will of the gods. And as the call to the Trojan War becomes more inevitable, so does the tragedy that will test their love and lead to heart-wrenching consequences. This book is so harrowing as it delves into the struggles of love against the backdrop of war, and it does a really good job in showing that no one ever really wins in war. Everybody always loses something amidst the violence. It also presents a really somber reflection on the temporary nature of life and the enduring pain of loss. Plus, the story is just incredibly romantic as it dabbles with the inevitability of fate, even when divine intervention cannot alter the true course of love, which I'm an absolute sucker for. I genuinely think that this is my favourite Greek mythological retelling of all time, and I would definitely contest that this book walked just so all these other recent mythological retellings could run. It's just an epic tale of love and sorrow, handled in a really raw and delicate manner, and it's magnified by this shadow of impending doom. This book made me cry like no other, and if you want a really good cry too, then read this. Okay, going all the way to India now, the next book on my list is The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. So this story, set in Kerala, India, spans over the years of 1900 to 1977, and it follows 3 generations of one family that all suffer from a very peculiar affliction, in that in every generation at least one person dies by drowning. The novel explores themes of family, tradition, legacy, grief, love, and sacrifice, as well as tackling some very sensitive issues of colonization, discrimination, as well as addiction. Sometimes I really quite like a long book to read during the summer, and I don't know if this comes from when I was a child and during the summer holidays I just wanted a good long book to keep me entertained, but I also find now that they're just great to take on holiday because you can just get so invested in them. And this is definitely one of those books as it just has such a gorgeously rich story that you can just get lost in. Plus, as it's set in India, the descriptions of the heat and the humidity and the gorgeous immersive writing of the surroundings just makes it feel like you're actually there. But there's always this undercurrent of sadness throughout the entire book, because whilst there's joyful moments in the plot, there's also some really harrowing ones. So it kind of feels like you're always constantly mourning something that's happened. But it's not in any way a depressing book, as the plot was really engaging and interesting. All the characters were also really distinctive and very human, and you could feel like you could really connect to them. And therefore you came invested in their actions and were really connected to their ups as well as their downs. I recently took this book on holiday and I'm so glad I did, because even though I was crying by the pool reading it, it was just a fantastic book. Another book I read recently that was just perfect for summertime sadness was Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. This novel is set in the early 1990s in rural Ireland, and we follow a teenage girl who is just trying to do the best of what's expected of her, including finishing school and marrying her male best friend. But she finds herself getting more put off by this the older she gets. And during one particularly spicy summer, the main character finds herself interested in a girl in her friendship group in a way that she didn't expect. This fixation blooms into utter infatuation, and the lines between their friendship and relationship begin to blur. And the novel essentially centers around 2 girls that love each other even when everyone around them tells them that they shouldn't. Themes include coming of age love, complex mother-daughter relationship, and religious guilt and trauma. I just realized that this is the 4th book in my list about a gay, sad summer romance, so this clearly must be a favorite genre of mine. But this book is actually one of my favorites of the year so far that I've read, so I will have to include it here. It's just a beautiful novel that really encapsulates this whole feeling of summertime sadness. Similar to Call Me By Your Name, it really captures this obsession and yearning over a first-time love. And there's something about a summer love / fling that I just really adore. This is another one of those relationships that's just doomed to last despite how much these girls love each other. It's a heartbreaking read as everyone and everything tells them that they shouldn't be together. And it really beautifully explores the difficulties of complex mother-daughter relationships, which I'm sure for a lot of girls is a very harrowing subject, as well as the sensitive subject of religious guilt and trauma from her living in a very Catholic town. This book essentially shows the main character being torn between the person she wants to be and the person that people she loves expect her to be. It's honestly just incredible, and this book was honestly just the perfect book to read during summer. I would 100% recommend anyone to read this book. The next book on my list is actually the only one that's a memoir, and that's Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. The author essentially recounts her experiences as a daughter of a Korean mother and an American father, delving into the struggles of her identity of living in America and the intricate bond with her mother, as the book is a raw and tender portrayal of her mother's battle with cancer and how this illness permanently alters the fabric of their family life. It's also steeped in sensory experiences of Korean food, which becomes a vessel of memory, heritage, and sorrow, which is why the book is called Crying in H-Mart, as this is a Korean-American supermarket chain which the author finds herself crying in quite often, which therefore becomes the backdrop of this unique exploration of grief as the author weaves in and out through these different stages of grief. I think this book and The Song of Achilles were the two books in this list that made me cry the most, hands down. And whilst this book really is a testament to the universal experience of loss and grief, it also captures this unique ache of mourning a parent whilst also trying to hold on to your cultural identity, which of a child of immigrant parents, this is something I can definitely relate to. I also really rated how unflinchingly honest and raw she painted her mother's portrait in this book, as it makes you as a reader get to know her and miss her too. And also, as someone who comes from a culture where food is such an integral part of culture and family life, I understand how the simple act of eating can be an act of remembrance and a tribute to her mother. This book will honestly just resonate with anyone that's experienced loss, but it's also nice on how it reflects how we find connection in shared meals and food. I adore this book not only for its heavy exploration in death, but also the cathartic relief of healing and celebrating someone's life, but also goes through all the stages of grief and takes you along with her, so at the end you also feel like you've healed from the journey of acceptance. If you enjoy stories of human resilience through sorrow, then this book is 100% for you. And last but not least, the final book on my list is Bonjour, Tristesse by Francoise Sagan. Sagan? I'm probably saying that wrong and I only can apologize to the author. Anyway, in this novel we follow a 17-year-old girl who enjoys her carefree life that she shares with her widowed, charismatic father in France. However, this perfect summer is disrupted by the arrival of a woman who begins a relationship with the girl's father. Her presence threatens this hedonistic experience that our main character holds dear. And she's a little sabotager because she devises a plan to end their union. However, little does she foresee the consequences of which were more tragic than she anticipated. Themes include jealousy, manipulation, and the harsh realities of coming of age in a complex adult world. I'm not going to say any more for sake of spoilers, but this narrative is filled with emotional turbulence and adolescence, where every feeling is heightened and every decision feels like life or death. And this book was actually written by the author when she was 18, which I just think is wild because she is just so incredibly talented, because she perfectly captures this fleeting and melancholic nature of youth and the pain of growing up into reality. The title itself, which translates from French to Hello Sadness, foreshadows this bittersweet journey that the reader is about to embark on. The story is so dismal and it really captures this feeling at the end of a carefree summer when you know that everything is about to end. It embodies this sadness of saying goodbye to childhood and facing the harsh realities of growing up in an adult world. If you're captivated by tales of youthful folly and the somber lessons that follow, then this book is definitely for you. And speaking of things coming to an end, those are all my sad girl summer books. Have you read any of these books? If so, what did you think of them? And if you've not read these books, let me know what books you have read that give you this feeling of summertime sadness. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below. It really helps my channel out. And if you're new here, please subscribe. I make new videos every Tuesday. Feel free to also follow me on my Instagram. I post a lot more personal stuff on there, but I also post about books as soon as I finish reading them, so you can see what I've rated them out of 10 and also what they're about. Feel free to also follow me on my Goodreads. I recently made a page because everyone's been asking me to, so it's pretty much a work in progress. And thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your sad girl summer with these books, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!